Hello and welcome to Joanne's Healing Within. I'm your host, Joanne Angel Barry Cologne, your certified holistic personal trainer, intuitive healer, cosmic energy reader, medical astrologer, master of numerology, and the creator of the Chakra Balance Numerology Cosmic Energy Forecast deck. Yes, I almost forgot the name of my damn deck because I'm so damn excited because guess where I am? I'm at the studio. I did this in honor of my daughter. She reminded me to mention that I was here. I am back on scene, right on scene, not at my studio today. So this is really exciting. And it's also the Lionsgate Activation Energy Day, August 8th. Talk about that in a little while. But before we do, I want to remind you to share, like, and comment on today's show because, as usual, there is a raffle giveaway that will be announced at the end of the show. As there is a raffle winner from last week's show, which will also be announced at the end of the show. But let's get into business, the business of the show. Let's talk about our advertising sponsors that make the show possible week after week. As we have Nick Rafter, who is our editor, our writer, and our journalist. He's also our real estate agent. So if you are interested in looking for a home, an apartment, or writing that article, definitely reach out to Nick Rafter. Joe Monkman, he's a shamanic healing practitioner, and he's a wellness advocate. And he's been on my show a handful of times, and if you have not caught him and watched the show where he did an amazing healing demonstration, I highly recommend that you go back and watch on either Roku or YouTube. In fact, I'll probably share that show later just to bring it back to your attention because it was a magnificent, magnificent healing session. Then we have Lisa. I'm going to leave her last name out because I screw it up all the time. She's our CEO and founder of A Healthful Life. She's actually going to be back on the show in 2 weeks, August 22nd, I do believe. CJ Ives Lopez. She's the host of The Author's Porch, and she's got an amazing, amazing magazine that will be coming out, I believe, in October. And yours truly will be featured in there. I am the Cosmic Corner columnist, so I'll be sharing cosmic energy forecasts in her amazing magazine. So you definitely want to look for that. Then we have Kendrick Greer. Everyone knows Kendrick Greer by now. He's our amazing astrologer. He gives forecasts, astrology readings, and everything under the sun. However, though, he's going to be a little bit behind the scenes, how do they say it? MIA, missing in action for a little while because he's sort of redirecting his career. But once he gets everything on track, he will be back with his astrology. As he and I joke around, I can multitask with lots of things going on, and he needs to stay focused. But as soon as he is back, I will definitely let you know when he's available for readings again. But he's my amazing astrologer, and I have to keep him up as my advertiser sponsor as well. And last but not least, who is our guest for today, Todd Bradbury. He is the founder of the Mystic Warrior Academy. Now, those of you who've watched the show last weekend, he and I were on, and we spoke about the feminine and masculine energy. Today, we're going to be concentrating on what is masculine energy. Now, I had the pleasure of taking an 8-week class with him where he really dug deep into feminine and masculine energy. And I learned a lot in that class because what I originally thought feminine and masculine energy was nothing of what I thought. And I'm sure once he and I get to chatting today, it may change your idea of what it is too. So definitely want to hang in there with me because he will be on shortly. So that's our advertising sponsors that make our show run very smoothly each week. And I want to just see what else we got going on before we dive into what is going on in the cosmic world. I always like to provide some insight regarding what's going on week after week after week. And for those of you who are aware of astrology and this magnificent energy of today, actually leading up to today, is the Lionsgate activation. What exactly is the Lionsgate activation? I like to keep things simple. And I truly believe the Lionsgate activation is really an activation to helping us realign our energies to set our intentions for the next 6 months to come. And when we move into that space, it's almost as though anything that you have been doing in the past that is no longer in alignment to your energy specifically, There's no sense in looking back because this Lionsgate energy is literally pushing you forward. And whatever no longer serves your specific energy, your higher version of yourself's energy, you're going to be pushed away from. And that's what this energy is going to do for us today on this 8/8 magnificent day. Now, to make it more exciting than just that, note that this Lionsgate energy is also aligned with a new moon. New moon in Leo. And Leo season is what we're in. And when we think about Leo, Leo is the zodiac sign of fun, play, romance, creativity, drama. And I want to stress the word drama because many of us over-exaggerate everything, just generally speaking. We do not really need a zodiac sign to help us with that. But that's what Leo is doing. So again, creativity, drama, self-expression, having fun, being more playful, romance. And whatever your sun sign is, connected to the Leo will determine your theme for this particular season. And in addition to that new moon, just want to go even a little further and expand a little bit more on that. In addition to the Lionsgate activation, the new moon, side by side, as they call it, I think it's called the bookshelves, or the bookcase, whatever the case is, we had just back on July 25th, we had a full moon in Aquarius energy. And on August 22nd, which is 2 weeks away, we have a full moon in Aquarius energy. A rarity. Very rare do we often have full moons in the same zodiac sign. We do often have a full moon within the same month 2 times, which is called a blue moon. But this particular full moon has the exact same zodiac sign connected. And Aquarius is all about humanity, community, friendships, relationships. And it's a full moon, in addition to all this other energy. So I ask you, how are you feeling today with all of this energy? And this energy has been literally building up since the end of July. And today itself is the actual door breaker, where this energy will also sustain until August 12th. So after today, we have about another 4 more days where this energy is going to really be explosive. And I'm kind of curious to know, and you can put this in the comments if you like answering this question, what have you noticing shifting for you? Is your job shifting? Are your relationships shifting? Do you feel like all of a sudden you're on speed and like things are just starting to move faster than they ever moved before? Because you probably will be feeling as though, because that's this energy that's taking place. So what I like to do is I like to offer you the opportunity to get your energy aligned before we dive into this amazing energy for today. And I'm going to ask you just to take a deep breath in. Meditation is definitely the key for this energy today because it helps to ground you. So spend as much time as you can in nature, and also spend as much time as you can just in a quiet setting, just being more low-key. This is definitely not energy to be doing high energy activities because of the energy the way it is. So you might want to really balance this activation day with more low-key things to be doing. And I don't know where you are, guys, but where I am, it's raining. So it is really a great day to be sitting in the house, perhaps watching a really great movie, such as what you're doing with me right now. So I'm just shuffling up the cards to see what card do we need to hear, what chakra do we need to focus on, what number is going to provide a hidden message, and what affirmation can we use to help us keep our vibration high. So let's see what we got going. So as I'm shaking up the cards, all I want you to do is set an intention for today, what you would like this card to help you with. So there goes our card. Like the way the card just flies out of the deck. I love it. Hopefully you can see that card. It's all about self-love today. Self-love, and I think that's a really great affirmation to expand on, self-love. Many of us are always looking externally for love. We're looking for other people to love us. And that's really great when your partner, your friends, your family can love you and they can say they love you, but how often do you tell yourself that you love you? And that's important. Self-love is an extremely main ingredient to any relationship that we have, especially with self. Now, to get into the practice of self-love, connect yourself with your root chakra. Not sure where your root chakra is? Well, take a look down at your tailbone. Literally where you sit is where your root chakra is. And you could take it one step further, allow that energy to flow down your legs to your feet and get connected with the floor, get connected with the ground, and get connected with earth. As you do, you connect with Mother Earth, and that allows you to feel more balance, and feeling that balance just strolling up, connecting into your tailbone so you can feel more connected with Mother Earth, and then just allow the energy to spiral all the way up to it. So you can feel the energy up at your crown. Make that connection between the crown and the root, and self-love automatically shows up. The number 7 and 3. The 7 energy is about how you can evaluate what I just asked you to do. How you can visualize it as well, from the roots spiraling up all the way to your crown. The 3 is what it is you're creating from that. And when you are grounded and you are connected to your higher self, you can create the possibility of self-love. 7 and 3 works out to be a 10. So there's new ways of attracting self-love. What does self-love mean for you? And then what does it look like for you as well? So the act of acting on self-love and what that feels like for you is what I like you to really go and evaluate on today. So that's our card, that's our chakra for today, is getting grounded. Getting grounded, loving yourself, and also being in a space of evaluating how that feels for you and what it is you want to create. What it is you want to create, and how do you want to create more self-love into your practice. So with all that being said, feel free to put your comment in on how this resonated with you. Did it resonate with you? Is this the first time you've connected with your root chakra? Is this the first time you've even heard the word root chakra? I love to know where you're at in your spiritual journey, and if you're on a spiritual journey. So with that being said, I'm going to take a quick commercial break, give you a chance to get some water, and then come on back, because by the time we come back, I'm going to have my guest with me. I'll be right back.
Hi everyone, I'm Natan Bredbury. I'm a veteran, Kabbalist, mystic, coach, and spiritual mentor. I have been blessed to help many students on their spiritual journey over the last 20 years. I am currently the founder of the Mystic Warrior Academy, and what we're doing is we're helping veterans heal from the inside out, overcome any sort of emotional trauma that they've been through. So if you're a veteran, a therapist, or a coach, and are interested in learning more about our program, you can contact us directly at info@mysticwarrioracademy.com. Blessings.
Hello, my name is Nick Rafter, journalist, writer, editor. I'm happy to be offering copy editing and line editing services at competitive industry rates. If you have a book or any document that needs to be edited and thoroughly looked through, please contact me at nickrafter@gmail.com. Let's discuss how to get that work done. That's Nick Rafter, NICKRAFTER, @gmail.com. I hope to hear from you soon.
Hello and welcome back to Joanne's Healing Within. For those of you who are just tuning in, I'm your host, Joanne Angel Barry Cologne. And before I go ahead and introduce you to my amazing guest who's been here more times than I can count, just want to recap on our card for today, because I think it is really appropriate for the conversation that my guest and I are going to share today. Chakra associated is the root chakra, which is connected to your tailbone. And how you want to connect to your root chakra is allow yourself to visualize your feet on the floor and connecting your feet to the earth, and feel that energy just spiraling up right to your tailbone where you're actually sitting. So if you're not sitting but you are standing, just feel that energy underneath your feet and know that you're being supported by the earth. The affirmation is self-love. And I think it's an important affirmation for today, because self-love is so important. As humans, we're so busy wanting to receive love from others where we forget to love ourselves. So remember, you must love yourself first so you can then be open to receiving love from others. The numbers are 7 and 3, so the 7 energy is about that, how you evaluate self-love. What does self-love even look like for you and feel like? The 3 is about creating your self-love, which means you'll have a whole new outcome and a whole new experience when it comes to self-love. That's our card for today. So now that we know all that, let me introduce my amazing guest who was here with me last week, has been here more times than I can count. Natai Bradbury. He is the founder of the Mystic Warrior Academy. He and I have been doing some amazing work together regarding feminine and masculine energy. I had an opportunity to take a course that he offered for 8 weeks. I got to spend time with him, and wow, did he change my mind on what masculine and feminine energy is. So Natai, if you don't mind, just going over it, introduce yourself again, let the viewers know all about this amazing course that you offered.
Absolutely, and thank you, Joanne. It's really a pleasure to be here. I always enjoy coming on the show and chatting with you, even when there's technical difficulties. Yeah, so basically a little bit about myself. I'm a Kabbalist, a teacher. My approach is I take a combined approach based on my background with martial arts, my spiritual learning, and kind of take sort of a combined approach with the Mystic Warrior Academy and Foundation, which our mission there is to help treat individuals that have experienced trauma. And we use different spiritual techniques to treat trauma at its root. So that's really our purpose and goal there. And so what we did with the Warrior Goddess program is we took some fundamentals in terms of energy, right? And so really laying the foundation with the first week, what is masculine and feminine energy? Because I think, and we touched on this a little bit last week, that there is a lot of misconceptions. I wouldn't even say confusion, but a lot of misconceptions around what masculine energy really are, right? And so I think it's time to start correcting those misconceptions and setting the record straight.
Yes, and I think it's a perfect time for this, considering all the energy and all the different shifts that many of us are experiencing, since last year. So I think it's perfect planning, perfect timing that here we are talking about this. So our topic for today is, what is masculine energy? So what is masculine energy?
So to even go there, right? First, we have to understand from a universal perspective, everything is energy and vibration, right? I believe it was Nikola Tesla who said that. I love his work, very big fan. Just the groundbreaking breakthroughs that he really had. He's kind of underrated as a scientist. But if we think of it from a scientific perspective, everything's frequency, everything's energy, everything's vibration, right? And so those different energies can manifest themselves or show up in different ways, right? And so when we think of masculine energy, we think of things like aggression, and we think of things like disciplined and strict and order, and some of that's correct, right? So masculine energy is very disciplined. It's very orderly. It's also about the energy of doing, right? Making your way in the world and doing things, and action. But the side that doesn't get talked about very often is also, well, it's all about doing. Masculine energy is actually, it's very emotional. And one of the primary energies of masculine energy is compassion. And so aggression is actually a feminine trait. It's not a masculine trait. So there's a shift that needs to happen there in our mindset, right? To get into thinking, oh, well, number one, men aren't supposed to feel, they're not supposed to be emotional. Well, when it comes to a woman, men are usually very emotional and very much in their feelings, right? So it's time to start setting that record straight and understanding what actually is masculine energy. And I think that'll help, especially a lot of couples, right? In terms of how they interact with each other and what their expectations are. because there's definitely a lot of set expectations that lead to all sorts of issues.
Yes, it's interesting. I had actually thought about you yesterday. As I was sitting in conversation with my husband, him and I were planning our activities for our anniversary, and he had asked me something in reference to what we were going to do, and I turned the tables on him, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm going to allow him to be in his masculine energy here and let him make a decision as opposed to being the one to make the decision, because I'm very good in my masculine role. I'm always about, doing, saying, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do this. But I decided I was going to turn the tables because you came to my mind. I'm like, I'm going to turn the tables and say, well, what do you want to do? And have him be the one to dictate what, the activity, which from my understanding, that's the masculine role. Yes?
It really is, and all that planning and doing, right? That's very much a masculine role. It's very interesting to me, and especially within Western society, it's almost a joke where a woman has, when she has a husband, oh, it's another child to take care of, right?
Yes.
She's planning everything. She's telling him what to do and what to dress and where to go, and right. And I think what happens there is and getting back to energy, right? So everything shifts. Energy is always shifting and changing and moving, right? It's never still. So if a man is not in his masculine energy, well, that energy is going to shift over to the woman. And then she's going to step into that role. But what happens is if she stays in that role too long, she will start to resent her husband.
Yes, yes. And now also too, and correct me if I'm mistaken, but I mean, if the woman stays in a masculine role too long, doesn't that also put the man in the feminine role for too long?
100%.
And now here it is. Not that we're going to sit back and say they're in the wrong role, but the factor is they're in a role for too long, and that itself can create, as you said, the woman becomes annoyed because he or she is the one doing all the delegating, we'll call it.
Sure. Yep.
And then the man is the one who's doing all the, I guess, receiving.
That's exactly it. And right. And so that's another aspect of masculine energy is, and we often hear about this from a lot of women is they're always giving, they're always doing, and what do they get in return, right? Well, that's masculine energy. And so for that to shift, the man has to be in that giving role. Like that's his purpose. He is supposed to be the giver, the provider, the protector, right? Like all of these different things. But and just to clarify for the viewers, right? Like just as we were saying earlier, these roles can shift and change. They don't need to stay static all the time, but it's understanding that, okay, well, if you're in the role for too long, you're going to become resentful. For example, a man becomes in that feminine energy or that feminine role too long, what's going to happen? He's going to resent the nagging wife, right? Telling him what to do all the time, right?
Yes.
That resentment is going to be generated. And once resentment starts, if you catch it early enough, okay, you can kind of come back from that very easily. But if it stays too long, and we're talking a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever, right? Then that's going to become much harder to overcome, right? It's going to become a bigger issue.
Yes, and I love the fact that you used the term the nagging wife. And I don't know if for our viewers, I know for me, just right away, a light bulb went off in my head in regards to like, oh wow, you know what? I never thought of it as when I am the one that's constantly, again, delegating, asking my husband to do something, and in his mind, I'm nagging again. Never thought of it in that aspect that, yeah, okay, he's feeling like I'm nagging because he's still in his feminine. It's like I now have to give something, and it's like, okay, well, if I didn't ask him to do something, he wouldn't feel like I'm nagging all the time. And if he took on the role, switched the role. Now, in reference to doing that, what is a suggestion? Because I'm sure there's many women out there who have been blamed for nagging. What is one tip that you can actually suggest to our women viewers on how they can switch it? And it doesn't necessarily just mean for, being a nagger for a man. It could be where you could be nagging another woman, and that too, yes? Or no, or is that just really regarding to the men?
No, and you're absolutely right, because energy is independent of your biology, right? So I want to make that very clear because I have some friends that are gay, right? And so some of them are in feminine roles, some of them are in masculine roles, and so it's understanding that energy is independent of your biology, or whatever your preference is, right? Whatever your desire is sexually, right? So it's very, very possible for two women to be in a relationship and one to take on that nagging role, so to
Yes.
speak, right?
That's going to be
And
the
then
theme
another,
word for today, nagging.
right? And then another woman to be on the receiving end and be like, okay, it's too much. And so what we have to understand is, I love how you said at the outset, you stopped, you realized what you were doing, right? So you realized the energy that you were in, and then you moved and allowed that energy to shift over to your husband. So I think for the people that have that level of understanding, because not everyone does, and let's be very honest, very few people do,
Oh yeah,
right?
it's a practice. It is definitely a
It really
practice.
is. It very much is. But once you come to that point of awareness, right? When you cultivate that awareness, then you can stop and pull back and say, you know what? I'm going to allow this to shift, and I'm just going to let him be in his masculine energy. Let him lead, right? Because that's what he wants to do.
Exactly. Now it's really funny because what's coming to my mind as you're saying this is, unfortunately, I'm not one of those wives that would be asking this question regarding, well, what do you want for dinner? Because, I mean, if you think about the everyday, couple, the wife is usually asking the husband, well, what do you want for dinner? And then here, most husbands will turn around and say, well, whatever you want for dinner. Or whatever you're planning to make. So I think that too. I mean, here it is that the woman does give the man the opportunity to be in his masculine role to make a decision, and he bounces it right back to her where she then has to make the decision.
Yes, and so what I learned years ago was the key thing for a man to ask in that situation: what are you in the mood for?
Oh,
Right?
oh.
So you ask, okay, well, what are you feeling, right? And so based on, okay, well, tonight I want tacos, or tonight I want pizza, or tonight I want, steak, or whatever it is, right? And so based on what you're feeling, based on the vibration of the energy of the food that you're connecting to in that moment, then the man can come and make a decision. Hey, I know a great place for tacos. Hey, I know a great place, right? And so it's again cultivating that sense of awareness where you're able to, okay, yes, you're still bouncing ideas off of each other. And I know the reason why the men do it. It's because the man doesn't want to upset his woman. And so he lets her make the decision so she's not upset, right? But by that same token, I think it's very important because, again, like you said, you want your husband to lead, or the women, they want their husband to lead and to make those decisions.
Now, wouldn't the husband also want to lead as well, or like how does that work too?
I think what I've seen is there are a lot of men that are afraid to lead. They're afraid. They're afraid of the negative reaction. They're afraid of an upset wife or an upset partner, right? And so there's a lot of fear swirling around when it comes to men. There's a lot of fear around leading. There's a lot of fear around making decisions because they've probably had some trauma associated with that, or some sort of negative experience in the past that's caused that sort of trauma, and that becomes that can even be generational, right? Again, so thinking in terms of energy, any sort of generational trauma, say it was your parents, your grandparents, whatever, that gets passed down to the children. So it doesn't even necessarily have to be something you've experienced personally, but, and so what I've noticed, especially in Western culture, I can't say for sure in Eastern culture, but in Western culture for sure, right? There's men are just afraid to lead. They're afraid to lead. They're afraid to express their emotions because of the negative response, right? They don't want that negative response.
Now, in reference to something like that, again, what comes to my mind, in reference to perhaps helping the man move into a space of being able to lead, I think meditation would be a key because, again, grounding their energy so they can be in that space to feel safe enough and secure enough and fearless so they can be the leader versus having this fear. And also, again, giving them, as the woman, giving the man the opportunity and letting the man feel, I'm going to use the word secure and safe enough in his environment to know that it's okay to be the leader and suggest, as opposed to constantly having the woman do that as well. So having that open communication with your partner to say, okay, we're gonna, and if even need be to use these words today, I'm allowing you to step into your masculine role so you can be the leader.
Right, and I think that that's definitely helpful. There's a lot of aspects to it for men, right? And it seems kind of, how would I put it? Seems kind of feminine to say, okay, a man needs to be safe or to feel safe, but I mean, from a psychological perspective, right? I'm going to switch hats because I've studied psychology, so I'm going to go from a psychology perspective, right? There's no shame in going to see a therapist. There's no shame in having a therapist or a counselor that you talk to and work with, right? And so it's very important. I'll even use a personal example, right? I'm with a group of other men, and we have there's like a core group of 5 of us, and we have a small meditation group that we meet once a week, and we talk about some of the different things that are going on in our lives, as well as a meditation, right? And so having that environment where there's men supporting other men, and it's okay to express what's going on in your life. It's okay to talk about your problems.
Definitely.
Right? And you're not going to be judged for it. I think we need to create more environments like that where men feel okay to express themselves.
Yes,
and once we do that, right, like once we build that, I think we'll start to see some more shifts. We'll see more shifts with the men in general.
Yeah, I think that's an important energy because, interesting enough, this past Wednesday, I was in a group, and the presenter in that group was speaking of the exact same thing you're speaking of regarding putting together a group for men to come to. Because, see, I mean, when you think about it, when you think about specific groups, most of the time it's always women, and you might have 1 or 2 men in the group, in this whole process of wanting to meditate, wanting to connect with themselves, wanting to go deeper. But yet, you'll have 20 other women and maybe 1 or 2 men. And it's like, there's got to be more men than this that want to really discover who they are and want to release out, the old patterns or the generational patterns so they can be more in tune with themselves. So I think it's a great thing that you are offering. Now, this group that you have, is it open to those who are watching, the guys that is, the men that are watching? Are you open to bringing in more people to your meditation group?
Yeah, so I mean that specific meditation group, that's, I would call that a closed group, right?
Okay.
But in terms of creating more environments like that, I think that would be phenomenal. I also run a class for men, very similar to what I did for women, right? And so what I would love to see is more men stepping into that, more men coming into classes like that and saying, okay, let me learn about more about these different masculine, feminine roles and energies. Let me learn more about expressing my emotions, and what do I do when I feel angry? You know, what's actually going on there, right? And so, what are some healthy ways to address those emotions? Those are some of the things that I expressed in the class for men. And what was interesting is something I noticed is, and very similar to what you said within like the spiritual community, the ratio is it's at least 10 to 1, probably 20 to 1, maybe higher,
Yes.
with women that are there as opposed to men.
Yes.
Men, I believe, by and large, either they don't believe there's a problem. Let's be honest.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go.
And I don't go to the doctor. So,
Yeah,
you know, I get it.
I'm gonna go this route. Rather than they don't believe that there's a problem, they may not be aware that there's a
There you
problem.
go.
I think
There
that's a
you
better
go.
way of
Yeah.
going about it, as thinking that, oh, there's nothing wrong, and it's not even the matter if there's something wrong with them, but just that they're not aware that there's another way that they can be doing whatever it is they're doing to
Yeah,
get a different
exactly.
outcome.
Yeah, and like there's better ways of doing things,
Yes.
right? And so I think that's definitely very key. But yeah, it's definitely been an interesting observation, right, within the community, within the last few years, just to see then the ratio of men to women. You know, we have a meditation class, but again, most of the people that have attended that are women. I think we've had maybe one or two men that have expressed some interest, right? But yeah, I think really the key there, again, is getting back to those men's groups and really establishing men's groups.
Yes.
I've noticed they are not exactly focused on, you know, masculine energy, but for example, I've seen men's groups where they teach young boys what it means to dress like a gentleman, how to behave like a gentleman, right? Things like that, I think we need to see more of, and then we'll start seeing that shift within our society.
Exactly. I mean, I work with a lot of women, and recently, what I find with a lot of women who are in their relationships having challenges, and the first thing the women are saying at this point in time is, you know, the relationship is so challenging that I think it's just really time for the relationship to come to an end. And I don't truly believe that that is the actual answer to the relationship aspect. I really do believe that perhaps it's time for that particular woman and that particular man to really sit down together and come to the understanding of what is not working in the relationship and communicate about what's not working in the relationship to get both parties involved to share what's working and what's not working as opposed to walking away. One of the things I've said, I say a lot, to women specifically, and some men that I do counsel, is that by walking away from the relationship and that pattern, and you're not learning anything from it, is that you're going to end up meeting somebody new. And when you meet a new person, it's going to have a new face, but it's going to have the same patterns, which means you're going to have to decide whether or not you want to learn this lesson with this new person, or if you want to stay with the person you've been with and invested in X amount of years with. And I think that's a really big question that we need to start really putting out on the table, because from my point of view anyway, there's way too many people, way too many relationships saying, specifically women saying, I'm not doing this anymore because it's not working. And the reason why I don't think it's working is because there's a lack of communication for both people to come together and to get both people to have a conversation regarding what the woman expects the man to be doing and what the man expects the woman to be doing.
Right, right. And I think that that's a big part of it too, is those expectations. And a lot of people enter into relationships. I mean, there's even a thing with a lot of men, especially the younger men, right? We'll call them the 20-somethings, right? within the younger men, right? Even 20s and 30s, like they don't even want to get married. They don't want the hassle. They don't want the commitment. They don't want the strain. They've seen their parents. They've seen what their parents went through, and they just don't want to do it.
Now, is that actually the answer, though?
And no, I don't necessarily believe that's the answer, right?
No.
My personal opinion, very similar to what you're saying, is number one, once you come into, you start to get serious about someone, that's when it's time to sit down, that's when it's time to communicate. Right? Before it goes any further, start communicating, start talking, and see what your expectations are going into relationships. If your expectations are at a similar level, they're not always going to be the same. They rarely are, right?
Yeah.
But if they're similar, then okay, then you have potential to work together. But if they are way off, like, her expectations are way up here, or his expectations are way up here, it's not going to work, right? And it's best to just, okay, let's move on and keep going. But to your point, when you're already in that sort of a committed relationship, when you're already in a committed relationship, when you already have a spouse, right? Yes, it's, if you can at all, if it's not an abusive relationship, right, then by all means, please try to sit down, try to communicate as much as possible. Sometimes that's the solution, sometimes it's not, but at least try, right? Put in that effort first, and then see, okay, this is something that either needs to come to an end, but you're also very right about the patterns.
Yes.
So that's the other thing I've noticed.
Exactly. And before you even dive into the patterns, in reference to what you were just saying about the relationship, if it's an abusive relationship, and this is where you and I are going to disagree just a little bit, and I'm sure my viewers are going to probably be like, what? But I even believe that if the person's, one of the two people in the relationship is being abused verbally or whatever which way, I still think that both parties really should come together to sit and communicate about the situation, because if they do not and they just decide to part ways, what's going to happen is, again, the one who is being abused is going to attract that same energy, because there's something there that that person is supposed to be learning from that relationship. And until they actually learn from it and then walk away, they're going to constantly keep repeating that same cycle. So I do believe that, whatever level of abuse that's going on, and of course get support in the process, but I do believe that they should not just consider walking away from it just because there's abuse going on. They really should figure it out, communicate about it, learn what the reasons are to why they came together to begin with. And once they have that going on, then if they feel the need at that point where the one who's doing the abusing isn't willing to get the support and help to shift his or her energy, then of course the other one needs to make a decision to walk away. But I do believe that they do need to work on that before they make that decision. Otherwise, it's going to be a constant repeating the patterns. And that's really, I believe, the true essence to why so many people fall into these relationships that don't work, because they constantly keep walking away, as opposed to really getting into, okay, so why did we come together to begin with? And what can we do here to work on healing whatever we need to heal, and step into that feminine masculine role where it's needed?
Sure, and my caveat to that would be, if possible, and if it can be done in a healthy way, right?
Yes.
I have seen some situations where the physical abuse is so bad that, right, there needs to be a break.
Oh yes, yeah. Well,
right.
Again, it's got to be support. It's got to be definitely support, and it's got to be to the point where both parties are willing to do the work.
Right.
If both parties are not willing to do the work, then again, they'll end up parting ways. But again, they're both going to attract a new relationship that's going to be the similar situation, because they're not really learning what the lesson is. And then it just becomes this domino effect of the same process over and over again. So what I usually like to say to my clients is, at what point are you going to make that decision that this is the person you want to do this contract with, and learn something about the situation,
Right.
Energetically, because again, as you and I talk about all the time, relationships are a part of the energy. It's a contract that we come together with. And to dig into that contract, to why these two people joined together in a relationship, whether it was a marriage or just a general relationship, why they came together, what are they learning from each other?
Yeah, and I think that's very important, right? And getting back to the idea of masculine and feminine energy and expectations.
Yes.
Because of our culture, and I say our culture because we use Western society, right? It's definitely not the culture I personally identify with, but I'm off in another world. But,
yes, somewhere out there.
But within Western culture, right, there are certain expectations men and women have when they come into a relationship.
Yes.
Those have been identified as gender roles or whatever that is, but the woman stays home, the woman takes care of the children, she cleans, she cooks, she does that. The man goes out, he works, and he provides for the family, right?
Exactly.
And so those are sort of the general expectations. There's some additional expectations built in there, but generally speaking, right? However, that model is great, but it doesn't work in our current reality.
Exactly.
Right? In our current reality, it's not a sustainable model outside of a communal or a tribal experience. Right?
Exactly.
So if you've got a community of people that come together and like the men and the women are supporting each other, right? And you have that built-in community, okay, great, that model works. But when it's just two people on their own, that's not going to work.
Exactly, exactly. Yes. This is an excellent topic, but we have to take a commercial break. So let our viewers know how they can reach you.
Absolutely. So you can reach me a couple of different ways. You can go to www.mysticwarriorfoundation.org, or you can hit us up at contact@mysticwarriorfoundation.org.
Awesome. And I do believe there was a flyer with that information, so our viewers have that as well. So we're going to take that quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to do a conclusion about what we were just speaking on and go from there. We'll be right back.
Hi guys, I'm Kendrick Cortez Greer, personal astrologer and astrological counselor here in Brooklyn, New York. I've been an astrologer for over 23 years now, providing astrological readings, counseling sessions, workshops, and corporate events all throughout the tri-state area. I've been very blessed and lucky to have clients all throughout the United States and beyond. If you're interested in a reading that is warm, heartfelt, honest, and conducive to speaking to one of your best friends, please contact me at 917-863-7528. You can also email me at kendrickstar@gmail.com. That's Kendrick, STAR, @gmail.com. And for you Insta people, find me on Instagram at Kendrick Cortez Astrology. I look forward to hearing from you soon. Toodles.
Hey guys, welcome. We are back on the Author Sports. I am so excited to be here with my co-host Anastasia. How you doing, girl?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I am good. It's so good to see you again. We don't get to see each other very often. We might have to do this every week, right? Tonight we are also talking with Scott.
There is no one-size-fits-all diet plan, so why would your fitness routine be any different? At A Healthful Life, we believe that fitness and conditioning should be tailored to you, and that's why we're offering a free consultation to anyone who reaches out to us right now. Mention this ad and you'll receive 20% off of your 90-day personalized fitness program. Visit ahealthfullife.org now to begin your journey to a more healthful you. ahealthfullife.org.
Hello and welcome back to Joanne's Healing Within. For those of you who are just tuning in, I'm your host, Joanne Angel Barry Cologne. I have my amazing guests who've been with me more times than I can count, Todd Bradbury. He is the founder and CEO of the Mystic Warrior Academy. We're speaking about what is masculine energy, and before we went to commercial break, we were just speaking about marriages, and also in regards to what are the expectations in a relationship, and how important is it to really sit and discuss the expectations, like what my expectations are and what my partner's expectations are may not actually match. So it's really important to get into that space so it can match, so the relationship can actually move forward, as opposed to what happens so many times, in our generation anyway, is that our generation seems to always want to walk away. I mean, I'm not sure about your parents' generation. I'm sure they're the same age as my parents, Todd. Is their generation, they stuck it out. They stuck it out. They did whatever they needed to do to work, to make their marriages work. our generation, the first thing we do is like, if it's not working, if we're not talking, if we're not on the same page, it's like, oh, it's done, I'm done, let's go. And we have to change that. And the generations after, like my daughter's generations, as you mentioned before, it's to the point where they're not even considering marriage. They might consider being in a relationship with somebody, but they're not considering that marital contract. And I think that's important because we're all here for that. So let's dive right back into what you were saying.
And I think that's very interesting. I've seen it both with my generation and with the younger generation, is that you have a lot of people who are living together, right? Like they'll live together, but they won't get married, like ever, at all, right? And I thought it was very interesting that you said marital contract.
Yes.
Because I've been exploring this idea and thinking about this recently. And to be perfectly honest, right? Marriage is a contract. It is absolutely a legally binding agreement wherever, whatever state you reside, whatever country you reside, it's considered to be a legally binding agreement between the two partners.
Yes.
But a lot of people don't think of it that way, right? They say, oh, we're in love. Oh, let's get married. Let's do this, let's do that. And then come children. And then once children are in the picture, right? Like, everything completely
changes. Yes. Everything changes. That's where all of a sudden the expectations show up. The woman's expectations of what she thinks her husband should be doing, and the expectations to what the husband thinks the woman should be doing. And because they've never discussed that from the beginning, they're not on the same page sometimes, and that throws off the whole system. It's like, what the hell happened?
And it really does. I mean, it fosters a lot of, again, getting back to that resentment.
Yes.
And I speak about this because, personally, I was married for 21 years, right? And so my marriage came to an end. But through that process, I understood that there was an enormous amount of resentment built up on both sides, right? Because things weren't expressed, or things weren't talked about, or there were certain expectations, and the expectations went unmet, right? And so that's why I think it's so important to really level set those expectations, and not just at the beginning of a relationship, right? But like all throughout the relationship, maintain that communication, maintain that dialogue, and understand, right? Okay, within like society's gender roles, right? Like, they don't need to be set. It's okay for a man to do laundry. It's okay for a man to wash the dishes.
Exactly.
In the house.
Exactly.
Right?
It's okay for the woman to write out the checkbook.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right? Absolutely. Right? To balance the finances and handle finances. Right? And it's okay for those roles to be fluid. They don't need to be static.
Exactly.
Right? It's understanding that, and it's understanding this energy of masculine and feminine. Okay, so, on the one hand, masculine energy is all about doing, where on the other hand, feminine energy is all about being and rest and relaxing. And so what happens, a man comes home from work, he's been doing all day. Mm-hmm. What does he want to do? He's been in masculine energy all day, so he wants to be in feminine energy.
Exactly.
But in a two-person household, that's impossible. You can't do that.
Exactly.
Because the woman's been in her masculine energy all day, and she wants to be in her feminine energy.
Exactly.
Right? So both people have been doing all day, both want to rest, they can't, so there's discord, there's an argument, there's all sorts of things.
Yes. Now, it's so amazing on our topic, and I'm so grateful that you're going to actually be back next week because, again, our show only runs an hour, and there's so much to share with this topic. So Natad will be back here next week to share some more as we will continue. So Natad, what I'd like for you to do, if you don't mind, just one more time, let the viewers know how they can reach you. I do believe there's a flyer with your information. If you can share that information with them, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I run both a nonprofit foundation and the Mystic Warrior Academy. I get them both a bit mixed up, but they can contact us through www.mysticwarrioracademy.com. Also, I believe it is info@mysticwarrioracademy.com.
Awesome. And unfortunately from last week's show, Natad had some technical difficulties, so he wasn't the one to provide the raffle giveaway for last week, so I did. So our raffle winner from last week's show is Linda Boney. She's going to be receiving a 3-card Cosmic Energy Soul reading from me. So, Linda, if you happen to be watching, which I think you are, please reach out to me so you can redeem your raffle prize so we can get that scheduled onto the calendar. And I know I didn't get a chance to ask you, Todd, would you be interested in offering the raffle giveaway for this week's show?
Yeah, absolutely. Since we're really talking about marriage and relationships, I'll just say, look, I'll do a free 20-minute consult for any relationship or marital issues.
Excellent. Awesome. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a commercial break, and when I come back, I'm going to be giving the conclusion of today's show. But before I do, I just want to give a shout out to all of our amazing viewers who are on. A little something different today. I want to shout out to Deborah Spiro, Linda Boney, Paula Tingley, Denise Haney, Jacina Rivera, Julie Dizelle. Thank you all so much for being here and watching with us. And please remember to share, like, and comment so you can be one of the people to win this week's raffle giveaway. So again, one more time, Todd, for me, just let us know how they can reach you with that website or email address that they have on the flyer.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's going to be www.mysticwarrioracademy.com or info@mysticwarrioracademy.com.
Awesome. We're going to take a quick commercial break. And Todd, thank you so much for being here with me today. And I will be right back.
Hey, this is Joe Monkman, and I am a personal development trainer. And that means that I help people step into their leadership roles, take their place as a visionary, really understand their own mastery in the world so that they can really find their place at the buffet of life. And if you want to know more, you can find me on my Facebook page at Joe Monkman and joemonkman@gmail.com.
Hi everyone, I'm Natan Bredbury. I'm a veteran, Kabbalist, mystic, coach, and spiritual mentor. I have been blessed to help many students on their spiritual journey over the last 20 years. I am currently the founder of the Mystic Warrior Academy, and what we're doing is we're helping veterans heal from the inside out, overcome any sort of emotional trauma that they've been through. So if you're a veteran, a therapist, or a coach, and are interested in learning more about our program, you can contact us directly at info@mysticwarrioracademy.com. Blessings.
Are you curious to know what's in store for you in the cosmic world? Hello, I'm Reverend Joanne Angel Barry Cologne, your certified holistic personal trainer, intuitive healer, and cosmic energy reader. And I've created a 6-month, 3-card cosmic forecast with you in mind. Each card features your sun, moon, and rising sign. To learn more, email healingwithin76@gmail.com. I do look forward to sharing insight, inspiration, and intuition with you. Each monthly forecast can be redeemed via email, video, or Zoom. Email healingwithin76@gmail.com. Mention this ad and receive a special rate. Hello and welcome back to Joanne's Healing Within. For those of you who are just tuning in, I'm your host, Joanne Angel Barry Cologne, and I'm encouraging you to come back and watch on either Roku or YouTube as you missed an amazing show today. My guest and I spoke about what is masculine energy, and Todd has been with me for the last 2 weeks. He'll be back here next week to talk about some more energy, and our topic for next week will be exactly what we left off on, which is marriage and relationships. So you definitely want to tune in. So with all that being said, I just want to give a shout out to some of our promos, because there's so many of you out there doing amazing things. I decided that it was important for me to promote you. So here are some of the promos going on for this week, which is the Accurate Authentic Sin Sir, which is readings by Cinnamon. Now, I know Cinnamon personally, and you definitely want a reading from her. She does tarot card readings. She's amazing. She's fun, and she tells it like it is. She doesn't sugarcoat. So there's a flyer. Look her up if you are looking to get a tarot card reading. I've had tons of them in the past, and she is truly amazing. A lot of fun to work with as well. Then we also have a live health solutions. Are you frustrated with lack of answers and progress? You can meet up with Gabriella. Now, again, I've had the pleasure of working with Gabriella. She's amazing, and she does go right to the root of the issue and help you release that issue, almost something like I do. So go ahead and connect with Gabriella for those questions that are really driving you crazy. Moving on to our Psychic Fair, another on-site event that's taking place at my studio, Holistic Fitness, on September 25th. Believe the hours are from 12 to 5 p.m. So if you would like to get some more information and you'd like to connect with all of the practitioners that will be there for that event, feel free to email healingwithin76@gmail.com. Then we also have another on-site event, one of my favorite events, which is the Chakra Balance Reiki Circle. And this is being held the last Sunday of the month on August 29th. And this, again, one of my favorites. This event takes place every month, the last Sunday, from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, to reserve your seat, because reservation is required, please email healingwithin76@gmail.com. Reservation is $22, assuming you reserve before August 15th. Thereafter, it goes up to $33. So if you want to participate, please email healingwithin76@gmail.com, or you can also call 646-236-9155. And then our last flyer, Spirit Messages from Joe Monkman. He offers an amazing weekly group every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. It's a lot of fun, and the information you receive from these spirit messages is unreal. And then he also does a little one-on-one as well. So every Wednesday night, 8 p.m., look at the flyer, get the information, and come join us. So with all that being said, I like to again just remind you that today is the Lionsgate activation. Make sure you do some meditation, align your energy, quiet your body down, embrace this energy, and I look forward to seeing every one of you next Sunday, same time, same place. Well, maybe not the same place for me, but same time. Bye-bye for now.